All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, I do just want to give a overview behind our organization. We are the San Diego Hunger Coalition, and we're really working to build a more effective system of hunger relief programs so that anyone who is facing hunger here in San Diego can have immediate, equitable, and dignified access to food assistance. We don't provide direct service, but we do work collaboratively with hundreds of different partners all throughout San Diego County through our work in research, education, and advocacy. Today's training is really meant to provide you with a general overview of food assistance programs that families with children can make use of, specifically focusing on sunbucks or summer EBT. I really hope that you're gonna, leave this training feeling confident on how to best promote this program to families and children in your community, in your schools, or that live around your organization. We will also go over additional food resources that these children can also make use of. This is a quick little outline of the presentation and what we're going to be going over today. We are going to start by providing some context surrounding nutrition insecurity here in San Diego County. Then we are going to go ahead and take a look at different eligibility information surrounding the food resources I just listed and talked about, like Sunbucks, school meals, and CalFresh. And then we are going to summarize with some key takeaways that we'd like to share with all of you and offer some additional opportunities for those who are interested in learning more. And I do want to note these slides will be shared with you after this presentation is over. So if you see any links, don't worry about grabbing any. So before I cover any details surrounding the Summer EBT or Sunbucks program, I do just want to cover some important facts and data that show us why programs like Sunbucks are so important. So according to data from December of 2025, more than 1 in 4 San Diegans are actually experiencing nutrition insecurity. And if you're experiencing nutrition insecurity, it means that you and your family cannot access 3 nutritious, filling meals a day. And unfortunately, and this might be a surprise to some of you, nutrition insecurity actually impacts our more vulnerable populations on a larger scale. So more than 1 in 4 adults experience nutrition insecurity, and nearly 1 in 3 children here in San Diego County face nutrition insecurity as well. And we have some exact numbers here on this slide. According to data from December of 2025, there are almost 850,000 people here in San Diego who do experience nutrition insecurity. And for just again, our county alone, there are over 200,000 children aged 0 through 18 who do not have consistent access to food. And so there is a really big gap that we really are aiming to attack and make sure that no child in our county goes hungry. Unfortunately, issues of nutrition insecurity are actually exacerbated and made worse during the summertime. During summer, when children go on break from school, they lose access to daily school lunch and daily school breakfast meals. This is up to nearly 3 million children across the US. And when schools are closed and kids lose access to these free, healthy meals, they are at higher risk of food and nutrition security, and they are more likely to experience obesity, poor grades, and other negative health outcomes. There are programs that are currently in place that are meant to combat the hunger gap during the summer, such as summer meal sites for children. However, despite best efforts, group summer meal sites have historically only been able to reach around 1 in 6 children. And, this could be due to a variety of different factors. For example, barriers can include transportation, These summer meal sites are often held at specific times and specific days, and so families may not always be able to find the time to visit these meal sites to get those meals for their children and for themselves. And overall, this leads to a large meal gap during the summer. And we're really aiming to make sure, again, that children don't go hungry during this time. And so Sunbucks or summer EBT is really meant to tackle that problem. Summer EBT began in summer of 2024. It is a federal food assistance program that provides eligible children with $120 for the summer month that their families can then use to purchase groceries. Eligible children can include school-age children, so those who are in kindergarten through high school. It may also include preschoolers or those participating in a Head Start program. If they participate in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast program, but we will go into more detail in the next few slides. Summer EBT was really founded using the information that we gathered during a similar program that was implemented during the COVID pandemic. It was called PEBT, or Pandemic EBT for full. PEBT also provided food benefits for young children, and it was found to have reduced hardship amongst the lowest income children by 30% in the week after families actually received benefits. That same program was estimated to have protected around 2.7 to 3.9 million children from hunger. And Sunbucks is expected to positively impact more than 29 million children across the nation, with an estimated 5.6 million children here in California alone. So Sunbucks is going to work very similarly to CalFresh. It will be accepted wherever CalFresh EBT is accepted. So this will include most local grocery stores, even the big chains, for example, like Walmart, Target, Bonds. You can also use your Sunbucks card for delivery from places such as Instacart, or you can order online for pickup from Target, for example. And you can also use your benefits at participating farmers markets. Sunbucks benefits can be used to purchase any SNAP EBT eligible item. So this is typically going to be any item that has a nutritional label on it, but it'll also include things like fruits, vegetables, meat and seafood, veggies, and so on. And one major point that I just want to emphasize is the fact that immigration status does not affect eligibility.
Perfect. So continuing on, I'm so sorry for the interruption here. I just wanted to note that, immigration status does not affect eligibility for the Sunbucks program. It's especially important, nowadays to make sure that we have that in mind because it is a major, fear factor that stops a lot of people from trying to access benefits that they are actually eligible for. And so I want to note that you do not have to be of any certain immigration status. You don't have to be a citizen or a legal permanent resident in order to access benefits. And in turn, it is also important to know that using your Sunbucks benefits will also not affect your immigration status. It is safe for families to access and use these benefits. Okay, so continuing on here, there is a couple things to know when it comes to Sunbucks eligibility. Eligibility is going to work in two ways. You could be automatically certified for Sunbucks. And if you are automatically certified, it means that you are not required to fill out any application or form in order to get your EBT card. CDSS will automatically mail the Sunbucks EBT card to the eligible child. There are a couple ways to be automatically certified. The first way, and typically the most easiest, is going to be if the child and their family receives CalFresh or CalWorks. This includes children whose families are currently on the program, or if they and their family were on the program at any point during the academic school year. And additionally, children who are considered foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway by the school will also be automatically eligible for the Sunbucks program. I do want to note if there are children who are considered homeless, for example, and they don't have a consistent mailing address for their card to be mailed to, the CDSS may mail the card directly to the school that the child is attending. They can also mail the card to the County of San Diego. So they may mail the card to one of the county's family resource centers. I do want to note, I can't see the chat since I am now on a different laptop. So in case there are any chats that I miss, please feel free to let me know. Another way to become automatically certified for Sunbucks is if the school or if is if the child attends a school, preschool, or Head Start program that participates in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast program, and the child is certified for free and reduced price meals. So this means that their family filled out a free and reduced price meal form. I do want to make a note. In California, school meals are currently free for all children. But in order to be automatically certified for Sunbucks, their family was required or is required to fill out that free and reduced price meal form. Oh, and I do want to note, you can see on this same slide here that we have an eligibility flowchart that families can go through to gauge how they may be eligible for Sunbucks. It is available in both English and Spanish. We have the Spanish version up here on the slide.
Yeah,
And
we actually did get a question in chat right now. We got a question asking, how do families notify if they want the card mailed to the school?
so that is a fantastic question. So if families want to notify CDSS that they want the card mailed to the school, they will have to contact the Sunbucks helpline. We will have a slide that details the helpline in a few slides. But families would have to contact the helpline, just let them know where they prefer to have it mailed to. All right. Okay. So if you are not yet eligible, you can still be eligible through other means. For example, if you have a child who attends a CEP or Provision 1, 2, or 3 school, then their family will be required to opt in by filling out the Universal Benefits Application or UBA. The UBA is a really fantastic, form. It it only requires very basic information about the family, and we will have a few slides that detail it, but it really will only ask for income, from each adult in the household and the status of each child in the family, if they are considered foster, homeless, migrant, runaway, or so on. And it will not ask for any immigration status. Another way to be eligible is if the family is enrolled in Medi-Cal. They will also need to opt in by filling out that same UBA form. The UBA form is available for download online via the CDSS or the CDE website. CDSS stands for the California Department of Social Services. CDE stands for the California Department of Education. And the very last day to actually apply for Sunbucks is going to be August 31st of this year, 2026. And so it is going to be very, very important that families, apply for things like CalFresh to get automatically enrolled, or fill out the UBA and return it back to their school before that deadline. And I do want to note the UBA form is going to be available in English and around 23 other languages as well. Oh, and it looks like Andrew did link the UBA form in the chat. Thank you so much, Andrew. All right. So this right here is a little screenshot of a section of the Universal Benefits application. The UBA must be completed by the parent and submitted back to the child's school. The application is going to be used and accepted by local education agencies or LEAs. That will be the school in this case, to determine Sunbucks eligibility using the reported income from the UBA. Schools are required to report the data from the UBA applications to the California Department of Education. The CDE will collect this in their education data collection system, and they will work with CDSS to get Sunbucks cards mailed out. I do want to note again, schools are required to report this information and collect it. If they have any questions or if you are a staff member for a school, I would highly encourage you to connect with CDE. You can email them directly at summerebt@cde.ca.gov. All right. On the UBA, it asks for information about adults in the household and about students in the household. So it will ask you to provide a list of all students. And this will include students from, elementary through high school, preschool as well, potentially. And you will also have to provide all information about all adult household members. This will include all earned income from work that they are earning and any unearned income that the adults are earning as well. This can include income that they are earning from SSI payments, pensions, unemployment benefits, and so on. The UBA is available in multiple threshold languages, including Spanish, Chinese, Portuguese, Russian, Tagalog, and Vietnamese, just to name a few, but you can see the list is quite long right here. But schools are allowed to translate the UBA to other needed languages if you have a high need in your school. CDE will still accept the translated version. So this right here is some information that is important to know surrounding Sunbucks. These Sunbucks cards are going to begin to be mailed starting May 18th. And that's, right around the corner. It's going to be in a few days, actually. And these cards are going to be mailed in alphabetical order by last name. Each eligible child in the family is going to get their own card. It will have their name listed individually on that card. And each card will have $120 deposited as a one-time payment. So these cards are not going to be reloaded every month. They will just be a flat 120, again, one time. Families, again, are going to have until August 31st to become eligible for Sunbucks. But I do want to note, if you apply over the summer for this program, they may have to wait until as late as November to receive their card. CDSS will be mailing out cards as fast as possible, but there are a lot of cards to be mailed out all throughout California. And so they will be mailing them out on a rolling basis. Again, if you apply over the summer, you may have to wait until fall in order to actually get that card in your hand. And there is a Sunbucks helpline and website that is live. Using the helpline is super, super useful. Families can use the helpline to inquire about eligibility, request a new card, or even get help with pinning their card. And I do want to note, Sunbucks cards will have to be pinned before they can be used by the families. This right here is the actual Sunbucks helpline that you can contact. It is 877-328-9677. In order to actually access the helpline, we would encourage families to follow the prompts that we have listed on this slide. When you first call the helpline, it will ask you to select your preferred language, and then it will ask you for your card number. If you don't have your card number, for example, maybe you're calling because you want to find out where your card is, or you want to request that your card be mailed to a specific place, then don't worry, it's okay. Just wait. It will ask you for your card number twice, but as long as you don't enter anything, eventually it will ask you to select the number 5 to stay on the line to speak with a representative about Sunbucks. And I want to note this Sunbucks helpline is available from 6 through 8 p.m., Monday through Friday, for speaking to a live agent. And again, the Sunbucks helpline is super useful because if families want to find out where their card went, where their card is, they can contact the helpline directly to find out. It is important to also know and also encourage families that you work with to update their address with the school and with the county. We mentioned earlier, but depending on eligibility, cards are going to be automatically sent to the address that is on file with either of these two entities. And so it's very important to make sure that families are keeping their address up to date in order to prevent any delay in access to these benefits. We have heard of people, getting cards mailed to the old address that they used to live in, and it can cause quite a delay because it takes time for CDSS to go ahead and mail out new cards. And so just encourage families to keep their address up to date from the get-go in order to make sure we can prevent those delays. I do want to note Sunbucks benefits are not going to be eligible for replacement due to EBT skimming and scamming. So this means your benefits were stolen. So it is very important to make sure that families do not share their card information with anyone and that they do not share their PIN with anyone as well. If you do happen to lose food that you bought using your Sunbucks benefits, due to some kind of household misfortune or disaster, for example, like a long power outage, then benefits will be eligible for replacement. And then another major thing to keep in mind, Sunbucks benefits must be used within 122 days. After that time frame, they will be expunged, or essentially they will expire and you can no longer use the benefits. If families have both CalFresh and Sunbucks, then we generally recommend that they use their Sunbucks benefits first. Generally, within the first 3 months of getting their card, can be a safe timeline. If you do want to find out the exact date that your benefits expire, you can call the Sunbucks helpline directly to find out that exact date. Our website has a lot of really great and useful information on Sunbucks, what the program is, how can families be eligible, and we also have a few useful flyers, such as the eligibility flowchart that we mentioned earlier. Our website also has a FAQ section, so frequently asked questions that families may have. And so I would highly encourage you to go ahead and visit our website or direct families to visit our website if they want to learn more about Sunbucks and their potential eligibility. And before we continue, I do just want to give a brief overview of the timeline we are expecting as these benefits are administered. So I mentioned May 18, it's going to be the first day that cards will begin to be mailed out. Again, they will be mailed in alphabetical order by last name to children who are automatically certified for benefits. CDSS expects that card delivery for those children who are automatically certified will complete around July. And they will begin to mail out cards for children whose families applied over the summer, starting in August. Another important day to keep in mind for August is that August 31st is going to be the last day for families to actually go in and apply for summer EBT. Also important around that time to remind families to use their funds before they expire, especially if they receive their card around May. And then if families applied over the summertime, they may continue to receive their cards all throughout the fall. And again, very important to also remind these families to use their card within 3 months. There are a lot of important lessons to keep in mind from the first 2 years of administration of the summer EBT program. In 2025, we had here in California an 80.4% PIN rate. This is the percentage of eligible families who actually activated their cards. And keeping this in mind, it does mean that 20% of eligible families never activated their cards. And so that's a pretty large amount. That means 1 in 5 children who were eligible didn't make use of those benefits. And another important stat to keep in mind is in 2025 alone, we had over $110 million worth of benefits become expunged or expire. And it's because they didn't get used or they weren't pinned by by the family. And this is a really large amount. It's over 20% of all mailed benefits. The numbers did go down compared to 2024, but of course, we aim to make sure that any child who is eligible makes use of their cards. And so it's really going to take a lot of work from all of us to make sure that we can continue to outreach to families, inform them about their eligibility, how to activate their benefits, and share who they can connect with for any questions they might have. And of course, a really important thing to note is that children whose families are on CalFresh are automatically eligible for Sunbucks. And so as long as they have CalFresh, again, they're going to be automatically certified. It's going to be the easiest way for families to be eligible for the program. And I see a question in the chat. Is the expiration date from the activation date? So, no, the expiration date, those 122 days that I mentioned, they begin from the time that the card was loaded with benefits. And so it's in order to find out the exact date that your benefits will expire for Sunbucks, we would encourage families to go ahead and call the helpline. But a safe timeline that you can generally give them is to use the benefits within about 3 months of receiving the card to make sure that they don't expire. All right, perfect. So, in order to, continue to outreach and promote the program, we want to share a few tips and things to know regarding Sunbucks for schools and, of course, organizations as well. Schools are trusted messengers for students and their families. And so we need your help in really promoting summer EBT and helping make sure that students become eligible. Students whose families are on CalFresh are automatically certified for Sunbucks, and this is going to be one of the easiest and best ways to promote Sunbucks eligibility. Again, if they're on CalFresh, they automatically get the card sent in the mail. And on top of receiving those Sunbucks benefits, their families are also going to have access to those normal CalFresh benefits. So it is going to give the family access to some of the best food resources available. And so in order to help schools promote CalFresh enrollment and Sunbucks, we have developed a toolkit for you to utilize. The toolkit has a lot of really great resources, including sample language for your website, sample language for emails and robocalls that you can go ahead and send out to families. It has sample social media posts that you can go ahead and take. You can add your logo, as well as sample captions. And it also has information for local CalFresh application assisters here in San Diego County. And a lot of information in our toolkit is also available in Spanish. For example, the sample language for robocalls. I see a question in the chat. Is there an email that families can inquire about questions? So I don't believe CDSS has a direct email. I would again encourage them to check out the helpline. If they have specific questions about Sunbook's eligibility, you can also, have them contact us. We won't be able to directly help them check if they are eligible. That is only available from CDSS's Sunbugs helpline. But if they just have general questions about the Sunbucks program or how it works, we would be happy to field questions that they may have. All right. So I'm continuing on here and coming back to the toolkit. The CalFresh and Schools toolkit is linked on our website. And I just want to go over a couple of the resources and information that is available on the toolkit. The first thing I want to note is that we have a little information section about how to add a CalFresh button to your website. We would encourage you to contact your school or school district administrators to ask them to add a link to apply for CalFresh directly, to send the parents directly to the CalFresh application. This way, it kind of removes some burden for parents. They don't have to go and search for where to apply. It'll be easily accessible from your school or school district website. You can very easily add a colorful CalFresh button to your website and use a link for the CalFresh application on Benefits Cal. On the toolkit, you can go ahead and right click on the CalFresh button that we have on there, and you can click Save in order to get the image if you are hoping to use that as a direct button. And we also have Spanish available on the toolkit. And then other important things to know is that we have a sample language that you can use for outreaching directly to students and their families. We have sample language that you can use for emails, letters, or robocalls to encourage your families to apply for CalFresh. We also have a Spanish sample language that you can use as well. You could also continue to let families know that as long as they get CalFresh, they will be automatically eligible for Sunbucks. And again, our toolkit also has a list of local CBOs that that families can connect with in order to, again, apply for CalFresh. And of course, I'll let families know that CalFresh, Sunbucks, and summer meal programs can all be used at the same time. They are not mutually exclusive. I mentioned earlier, the CalFresh and Schools Toolkit also has sample social media posts that you can directly use. You can copy or download these posts. You can add your logo, and we would highly encourage you to share it on your social media, your Instagram, or your Facebook. I want to note as well, we recently posted a video on Sunbucks on our Facebook. If you or your organization or school has an account, we would encourage you to repost it. It has information about what the Sunbucks program is. And it may be just a useful tool for families to just quickly learn information about the program. Our toolkit also has a list of local community-based organizations that can provide CalFresh application assistance. I always like to say that help is never too far away. There are free CalFresh application assisters available all over San Diego County. They are as south as San Isidro and as north as Oceanside. And so again, they can get help no matter where they are located. And I just want to check if we have any questions in the chat. Okay, it doesn't look like it, so I will go ahead and continue. So the toolkit is a fantastic tool, but what else can school staff do? The best way to really spread information is going to be outreach. So just continue to outreach and speak with families. There are many families who are eligible but not enrolled in CalFresh, including families who are eligible for free and reduced price meals. And so just encourage them to make use of the program. CalFresh is intimidating, I think, at first when you look at the application. But again, there are application assisters who can guide you throughout the entire process. So families don't have to go through the application process alone. You can connect with a local CBO as well if you're interested in having a CBO at your events or at resource fairs. And then one final note is to remind families to update their address on file with both the school and the County of San Diego. And then before I do actually begin, I do want to note we would also be happy to go in and table at your schools or food distributions or any events that you are hosting. We'd be happy to bring Sunbucks flyers and speak with families about their potential eligibility. Feel free to connect with us if you have any events that you will be hosting over the summertime. We would be happy to join. All right. Any questions before we continue? Okay. It doesn't look like it.
Thank you. I have one just quick question.
Yeah.
I think that would be really great. I'm thinking for back to school nights, we
Yeah.
usually have like table booths, resources. Who would we contact? Would we reach out to you so that we could
Yes.
schedule that?
Yes, you can reach out to me directly. I'll go ahead and I'll put my email in the chat, but it is just going to be my name, Anna E, at sdhunger.org. So yes, you can
Okay,
reach out to me directly.
perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. And so I did mention a lot, as long as you're eligible for CalFresh, you're going to be automatically eligible for Sunbucks. But we did want to take the time to just dive a little deeper into CalFresh, give you an explanation of the program, what it is, and what families can actually get from Sunbucks and CalFresh. And so I will go ahead and I will pass it to my colleague Andrew to present the rest.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. All righty. I think we're ready to go to the next slide. So to touch a little bit of CalFresh, I wanted to just give some context. This pie chart kind of breaks down the number of meals that were provided by the various food assistance programs that were provided all across San Diego County in December of 2025. And one of the first things that I really want to highlight here is that all of these programs together provided 27.7 million meals. And as you guys can see, 57% of those meals are from CalFresh. So that does show that it is the most effective food assistance program in San Diego County. And however, despite all of these meals that were provided, the county was still short by 6 million meals, which means that thousands of families are going hungry during this month, or they went hungry during this month. So as an organization, the San Diego Hunger Coalition, we're basically trying to find the best ways to kind of close that meal gap. So that way we make sure that everyone has access to 3 healthy and nutritious meals a day. So now that we know a little bit about CalFresh, I know Anna was mentioning quite a bit, but what actually is CalFresh? So CalFresh is a federal food assistance program that provides recipients with money to purchase food each month. This is also known as SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and it was formerly referred to as food stamps. So this program is administered by the County of San Diego's Health and Human Services Agency, which can be abbreviated by HHSA. And ultimately, they're going to be the ones who determine a person's eligibility as well as their benefit amounts. With that in mind, even though the county is responsible for making those final determinations, there are various local community-based organizations or CBOs that I believe Anna mentioned as well. But these organizations can actually help residents throughout the entire application process. Ultimately, it will streamline a lot of it for a lot of families. We'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit more in some of the coming slides. But another thing I also wanted to know is that CalFresh is an entitlement program. So what this means is that if someone is eligible for CalFresh, they're not going to be turned away from the program. So in other words, there's no such thing as like a limited amount of spots when it comes to CalFresh. And that's important because some people worry that if they apply for CalFresh, maybe they're taking benefits away from someone else who they think is more in need. And in reality, that's not the case. Anyone that's eligible will get those benefits. So individuals who receive CalFresh, they're going to go ahead and get an EBT card, just like the one that's shown here on the slide with the Golden California Coast. And their benefit amount is going to be downloaded to that card, which they can then use to purchase groceries. And it kind of acts like a debit card, but again, specifically to purchase groceries. This EBT card is loaded each month with whatever amount that they qualify for. And if they don't spend all of their benefits in 1 month, that's totally okay because the benefits roll over month to month for up to 9 months. So they add up in that way. The CalFresh EBT card can be used at specific participating grocery stores as well as farmers markets. And people can even use their CalFresh EBT to order groceries online through online markets like Amazon Market or DoorDash as long as it meets like the minimum purchase fee as well as like the delivery fee. And in addition to that, people can also utilize curbside pickup, which is super helpful for anyone who has limited mobility. And there are a few different retailers who also accept EBT for online grocery purchases. You can go ahead and visit those on the link that we have here on the slide once we send the stuff out to you guys. Alrighty, so with that in mind, what can you actually purchase with CalFresh? And there are a few things here. You can purchase fruits, vegetables, food producing seeds and plants, so that way you can grow your own food, meats, seafood, dairy, baby formula, and cold prepared foods. With that in mind, there are some restrictions. So you can't purchase anything with benefits. Specifically, you cannot use EBT benefits to purchase things like pet food, alcohol, or tobacco, non-food items, which could include diapers, cleaning supplies, or toilet paper, items with a supplement label instead of a nutrition label. So maybe like dry leaf herbal teas or even certain supplement powders. And a specific distinction that I want to highlight here is hot prepared food. So if it's a cold food or a cold prepared food, you can use your benefits to purchase it. But if it's a hot prepared food, you cannot use your benefits to purchase it. We have a saying here that goes cold then sold, hot then not. So that's really, really important to keep in mind. And there is an exception for this rule. Most people have to follow this rule, but for some individuals, there's an exception to this. And we'll go ahead and dive into that a little more in the later slides. So a lot of information pertaining eligibility for CalFresh actually revolves around how they define a household. And CalFresh, again, has a unique definition of what a household is that differs from how we commonly use the term. So in CalFresh terms, a household is an individual or a group of individuals who live together and also purchase or prepare meals together. So the key part is that they have to do both. They have to live with one another and they also have to purchase or prepare meals. So we have a quick little example here. We have a picture of two separate groups that are living under the same roof. So there's one family in green that obviously lives in the same roof, but they also purchase and prepare their meals together. And there's another family or another person in orange here who lives in the same physical house, but they purchase and cook their own meals separately. So this person in orange could be a roommate or maybe a renter or a relative or anything amongst that realm. And in this case, you would have two families that are using the same physical or the same mailing address, but they would be considered two separate households and must then apply separately simply because of the fact that they don't purchase or cook their meals together. So now that we know what a household is according to CalFresh, let's talk a little more about who else is eligible for CalFresh. So anyone on this list here of groups they can apply for CalFresh, and that could include single people, it can include families, working or unemployed people alike, children under the age of 18 who are legally on their own. It could also include legal permanent residents of at least 5 years, US citizens, including US born children, regardless of their parents' immigration status. And it could also include SSI, which stands for Supplemental Security Income, and SSP, which stands for State Supplemental Payment Recipients. Unfortunately, with that list in mind, we do want to acknowledge that not everyone is eligible for CalFresh. So the people that would not be considered eligible are undocumented immigrants, DACA recipients, and I believe asylees and refugees are also on this list as well. I would like to note, however, that even though these people may not qualify, there may be other people in the household that is eligible for CalFresh. And if those people are minors, these folk can apply for benefits on their behalf. And one thing I want to note here, as many of you guys may know, the reconciliation bill was passed and it has started to bring about some changes to SNAP and CalFresh eligibility, specifically impacting immigrants, in addition to other changes as well. Currently, with that in mind, only the following individuals are going to be eligible for CalFresh benefits. And that's going to include citizens and legal permanent residents who are can be referred to as green card holders sometimes. It also includes people granted Cuban or Haitian status, as well as citizens from the Federated States of Micronesia, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and the Republic of Palau who live in the US through the COFA agreement. So this change did take place April 1st. However, I do want to note that for any immigrants who were on CalFresh prior to April 1st, the reevaluation of their benefits will take place during their recertification. And if anyone has any questions about this, we are more than happy to answer that as well. But I know that that's something worth highlighting. All right, so in addition to the eligible list of people who can qualify for CalFresh, there's also an income eligibility threshold. And this is going to be something that's updated every year for the CalFresh program. So income eligibility is based on the size of the household and how much the household earners make in comparison to the federal poverty level. So generally, people who fall under the 200% of the FPL or federal poverty level would be considered eligible for CalFresh. So here we have a little table that kind of breaks it down a little bit. The first column on the left here is the number of people within the household. The second column is the gross monthly income. So that means not their take-home check, but what they earn before taxes or deductions are considered. Essentially, to get CalFresh benefits, people must be at or below the gross monthly income value that corresponds to their household size. And then I'll elaborate a little more on that in just a second. But then on the right, we have that third column there, and that basically just shows the range of CalFresh benefits that a household may be eligible to receive. And that range is going to be dependent on deductions from eligible expenses. So those expenses could be shelter expenses or dependent care expenses, college student expenses, child support payments, utility costs, medical deductions if you're someone who's 60 years or older, and or disabled households, as well as the homeless shelter deduction. So that's really nice too because it's for people who also live in their cars, right? So for them, it could be car payments or car insurance. So with all this in mind, it's really, really important to report any expenses because they may qualify for more deductions, which in other words means that people may be eligible to receive even more in their benefits, in their monthly benefits. So just to give a little example here, if I have a household of three people, I would then need to earn less than $4,442 in gross monthly income. From there, depending on whatever deductions I qualify for, I could get between $24 and 78 or $785 in benefits, in monthly benefits. And once accepted and enrolled in CalFresh, CalFresh recipients may also be eligible for additional programs that can help with other expenses. So CalFresh doesn't just help with food, it helps with a lot more. So for example, the SDG&E Medical Baseline Program essentially helps people get gas and electricity at the lowest rates for residential customers. The SDG&E Energy Assistance as well as FARA programs can help save in energy bills, which have been increasing each year, especially during the summertime when it gets really hot and people like to have ACs or fans turned on. And on top of that, CalFresh recipients get other perks as well, right? So one of them is museum passes, additional dollars when they shop at participating farmers markets or other grocery stores, including like Northgate Market, and so much more. So it's really, really nice to know that CalFresh doesn't just give food benefits, it helps in other ways as well. Alrighty, so another program that is available to some CalFresh recipients is the Restaurant Meals Program. So if you guys remember when I was talking about what you can use to purchase with your EBT card, your CalFresh EBT benefits, I mentioned that you cannot use CalFresh to purchase hot food. Well, this Restaurant Meals Program expands EBT eligible purchases to include hot prepared food for those who don't have consistent access to a kitchen or cannot consistently prepare food for themselves. So this population is going to include older adults that are 60 years or older, unsheltered individuals, as well as individuals with disabilities and all of their spouses. So to qualify for the restaurant meals program, all household members must be in at least one of those eligibility groups. So if a household ends up being eligible for this program, they can then purchase hot prepared meals from participating restaurants using their CalFresh benefits. And typically, these restaurants are going to say something like, "We accept DBT here," or something amongst that realm. And it could say that on a window or a wall, or maybe even a restaurant door. But one thing I really want to highlight is that just because one franchise of a restaurant accepts EBT, that unfortunately doesn't mean that all franchises are going to accept EBT. So, for example, you might see one McDonald's in an area that accepts EBT, but that doesn't mean that all McDonald's in the area are going to accept it. So it's really, really important to check which locations do accept EBT beforehand. And if you guys are interested, you can find a full list of those participating stores on this slide. We have that EBT locator link right there, as well as you can call 211 and get assistance that way. Another program that is helpful or that's a part of CalFresh is replacement CalFresh. So this is extremely important in California, especially where we have wildfires that are pretty common. So this program is available to anyone who is currently receiving CalFresh, but who lost their food due to any power outage that lasted longer than 4 hours, who lost it due to wildfires or their fridge or freezer stopped working, maybe utilities went out, or even recently we saw some floods. So it could even include floodings or any other household misfortunes that cause them to lose their food. To be eligible, CalFresh recipients must apply for those replacement benefits within 10 days of the date that those food items were lost. And you can find more information on this link that we have on the slide. So now that we've gone over a bit about what CalFresh is and who is eligible, how does one apply for CalFresh? I know Anna mentioned it a little bit with Sunbucks, but there are a few different ways, right? We can do it online, and this is going to be one of the easiest ways for anyone who is comfortable using a computer or a digital device that can be connected to the internet. You can go ahead and apply through Benefits Cal. They really try to streamline that application process. You can also apply over the phone. So you can call 211 and apply over the phone or get connected to an agency maybe that helps with CalFresh enrollment. You can also fill out a paper application and mail it to the county directly. And if there's anyone who needs additional assistance or has any questions, as I mentioned a little earlier, we do have community-based organizations, which some of you might be aware of. They essentially provide assistance and support with the application process in that way. And just to dive in on that last topic a little more, the San Diego Hunger Coalition specifically partners with different agencies and community organizations to ultimately help people better understand and access CalFresh. So these CalFresh application assisters go through an in-depth training of CalFresh, and they know the entire process and work closely with our team as well as the county to ultimately support individuals and families in accessing CalFresh benefits. Many of our partners offer multilingual services and can help people over the phone or even can help set up in-person appointments. So that way individuals or families can go to their offices and get assistance in person. And since they're really familiar with CalFresh, they can actually better advocate on behalf of the applicants and assist if there's any issues that come up. So they're really, really helpful, and it ultimately really does result in a higher likelihood of getting approved for your CalFresh benefits. So I really recommend that folks really do apply or they seek out assistance when applying for CalFresh, even if they think it's going to be an easy process, because CalFresh can come with a bit of hurdles and there are a lot of misinformation out there that CalFresh assisters really can demystify, and they can really help applicants get the maximum benefits that they may be eligible for. And then if you guys have any further questions when you're trying to help any families or individuals, you can always reach out to us. Our organization works again really closely with the County of San Diego to ultimately streamline the process of applying and accessing your CalFresh benefits. Anna specifically handles a lot of technical assistance and does a lot of amazing work in resolving CalFresh issues. So we are really, really interested if anyone has any questions or any issues relating to CalFresh, feel free to reach out to us. It doesn't matter if it's a small issue or a large issue or something that might just seem simple. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Ultimately, we're all here to help spread access to the different food assistance programs. Alrighty, so before we proceed with some of the other food assistance programs, are there any questions so far pertaining Sunbucks or maybe CalFresh, given everything that we've touched on? We can wait just a little bit here.
Quick question, and I'm sorry if I missed this when you were sharing. Typically, how long is the like processing time when somebody submits the application?
Yeah, I believe I think the county has a full 30 days to process that application or to decide if the applicant gets those benefits. I think typically in San Diego County it's around 18 days if I'm correct, but I think the county does have the full 30 days to ultimately make that decision. Is that correct, Anna?
Yes, exactly. The county
Correct.
right now is averaging around 18 to 19 days for processing time of new applications. They do, again, technically have the full 30 if they need it. But yes, typically around 18 to 19 days.
Okay, great. And if for the email, like for having like a booth for some bugs, would it also be like the same contact for CalFresh, or would
Y-
that be somebody else?
Yes, it would be the same contact, so you can contact me directly.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Are there any other questions that we have so far? All right, it doesn't look like it. I think we can go ahead and proceed. Alrighty, so next up, we're going to go ahead and talk about some other food assistance resources, and we can go ahead and get started with WIC. We did include WIC in this presentation just in case there are any families or individuals who do have children, but those children are not yet of school age, right? So maybe they can get benefits in that way. So just to highlight a little bit about WIC, WIC stands for Women, Infants, and Children up to 5 years old, I believe. And this is a federally funded nutrition program that is dedicated to supporting low income pregnant individuals, those who are postpartum and breastfeeding infants, and children up to 5 years old. So essentially, it helps families by providing them with monthly benefits. So families receive a WIC EBT card that they can purchase specific approved healthy foods that are tailored to nutritional needs during pregnancy, infancy, and early childhood. WIC also provides nutritional education for families. So participants can attend classes on topics like what are healthy eating habits or learning infant feeding cues. They also provide breastfeeding support by offering individual and group sessions, lactation peer support, and access to lactation consultants. And they also provide community referrals. So WIC connects families with other vital services as well within their communities. And then one other thing I also wanted to note is that WIC also provides virtual services. So they offer phone-based enrollment, nutrition counseling, and breastfeeding support, and that's all remote and virtual. And ultimately, that option also helps families overcome certain barriers like having transportation to different WIC offices. So, despite having the name women in WIC in the name of the program, it's important to note that all genders may be eligible for WIC as long as they fall under the following criteria, right? So, it could include a person who is pregnant, a person who was pregnant in the last 6 months, and this could even include people who have had or experienced a miscarriage, and pretty much any child who is under the age of 5 years old. So, that would also include those in foster care, those who are cared for by parents of any gender, maybe grandparents or other legal guardians. So if you're assisting anyone who falls within any of these categories, you can then look at the next step, which is the income eligibility criteria for WIC. And we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that on the next slide. So similar to CalFresh, WIC has its own income eligibility criteria. So if your client or it's a family or an individual, they have an income that's under 185% of the federal poverty level, then they may be eligible for WIC. This chart breaks it up a little further, so it shows like weekly, monthly, and annual amounts, which ultimately helps with those who have incomes that fluctuate over time. And for WIC, as you guys see on the table here, it starts with household size. So WIC has its own definition of a household as well. So for WIC, the definition of a household is just the number of family members in your home, and that also includes unborn children. So, for example, if I am a person who is single and I am pregnant with one child, that would count as a family of two, right? And typically, WIC changes their income guidelines every year around springtime. This year, it looks like they're doing it at the end of June, so that's worth keeping in mind. If you guys are helping a family, for example, in the wintertime, and they didn't qualify for WIC because they were just over that income threshold, it may be super helpful to refer them to check back again during spring or maybe even summer, just because those income guidelines change at that time. And also, you may also want to refer them to CalFresh if they are not already on it. And this is because, if you guys recall, the CalFresh income threshold is 200% of the federal poverty level. So it's a little higher, essentially. And what it means is that people who are not eligible for WIC might be eligible for CalFresh since the CalFresh income threshold is less strict for CalFresh. And another thing I want to note too is military families can also apply for WIC and it helps them in that way as well.
Yeah, the big thing I want to note for military families is that their housing stipend actually doesn't count as income for the WIC eligibility guidelines. So that is a really big part of what they earn that, again, does not get counted as income.
Perfect. Let me add that. Alrighty, and then we can go ahead and proceed. So WIC does mention, or as I mentioned, WIC does provide remote services. So for example, a family can call and sign up for any WIC services over the phone, and they can even receive their card in the mail. So here in San Diego County, we have 5 agencies that offer WIC services, and this is again all across the county, each with different office locations. So we have American Red Cross in San Diego and Imperial counties, Scripps, San Ysidro Health, TrueCare, and San Diego State University Research Foundation. So if you guys want to find the nearest office, you guys can visit sdwic.com. Essentially, you'll enter your zip code and then it'll load up the closest locations as well as contact information for those locations. And if you apply online, you can select the agency nearest to you. A staff member will actually call you to begin that application process, and that's all essentially completed over the phone. Or if you'd prefer in person, you can do that as well. And then here we see just a little picture of what the application form looks like. So once you fill this out, you're going to be shown the nearest agencies that you can connect with, as you can see on the pictures on the right here. And again, most of these agencies do offer remote services to connect. So what foods can you purchase with WIC? And this is something that's really worth noting because WIC actually has a stricter guide than CalFresh does when it comes to what foods are eligible. WIC has an authorized food list shopping guide, which is really, really helpful for both participants and WIC authorized vendors. To really get into the nitty gritty of that, you guys can see the full list on this online PDF here that we have on the slide. We'll go ahead and send these slides out and you guys can access that PDF that way. And there are a few different ways to keep track of your WIC balance. So say you get WIC and you purchase any eligible foods with your card. Essentially, you can track your balance in a few different ways. And one of the best ways is through the free California WIC app. So it allows users to view their food balance screen, which shows both available and used food items. It also allows the user to access a WIC food scanner, which allows the user to quickly scan which foods they can purchase with their benefits on the go. There's also an appointment screen that lists out the documents that are needed for upcoming appointments. So that really helps in some of the administrative stuff of it or part of it. It also provides locations of WIC stores and WIC clinics all across California. So that's super helpful. In addition to the app, people can also check their store receipt and they can ask the cashier or a customer service person at the grocery store to print the WIC food balance that way. They can also call the toll-free number on the slide here, and it's also available on the back of the WIC card, or they can visit online on the myfamily.wic.ca. That's another link that they can visit and learn that way on what their food balance is. Alrighty, and then another thing that I want to highlight here was food distributions and pantries. And this is an amazing service that is eligible for a lot of people, essentially. One of the things to know here is that there are different types of food distribution, right? So there's drive-throughs, there's walk-ups. Some of them are on a daily basis, weekly basis, or even monthly distributions. And some sites operate on an appointment basis only. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Most of these pantries are volunteer run, and because of that, sometimes the locations need to change their hours based on availability and capacity in that sense. So with that in mind, it's really helpful to call before visiting to get any information because it really does help provide a clear understanding of any changes or what days, maybe locations, hours, or anything like that. And it also helps with any additional information. For example, sometimes they'll ask you to bring your own bag, or sometimes, again, they'll tell you or they'll clarify if it's a drive-through or a walk-up kind of distribution. So it really helps to call in advance. So food distributions can provide a lot of different foods. Food distribution sites are most well known for providing shelf-stable or non-perishable foods. So for example, this is typically going to be like canned or boxed food that doesn't go bad quickly, that will last for a good while. But some food pantries and distributions also provide fresh produce, which provide even healthier options for individuals and families. Some food distributions may also distribute other perishables like bread, for example, or ready to eat meals. Many have a combination of all three of these, right? So they might have some that are shelf stable, some that are fresh produce, and have some ready to eat meals as well. And some distributions even provide senior commodity food boxes, which are typically around 20 to 30 pounds of food that are specifically tailored to the nutritional needs of seniors. And they are provided at monthly box distribution sites, like, for example, the San Diego Food Bank. And talking about the San Diego Food Bank, we have two major food banks in San Diego County. So this is going to include, again, the Jacob and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, but it also includes Feeding San Diego. And both of these food banks coordinate a lot of the food distribution all throughout the county, which makes them some of the best starting points when you're trying to find a pantry or distribution site near you. So if you want to connect, you can call 211 or you can visit their websites individually and they provide a lot of information that way. On our website, we actually have a link to their locator. So it just has like think of it as like a list and a map where you can actually scroll the list or you can enter a zip code and it shows the nearest distributions in that section or in that area. Yeah, perfect. And it's on the slide here. Basically, some of these distributions might ask different information. So they might ask a name or a phone number or a zip code. And these locators do provide some of the information that people can prepare for. And it, again, also shows you which are the nearest locations and you can filter all that stuff out really easily. So it really does help if anyone's looking for a food bank or distribution to visit these links and you can get connected that way. Sorry about that. So with all this in mind, where do you guys start when you guys are connecting other families and other individuals to all these resources? So let's go ahead and just summarize some of this. But before we really dive into a little bit of that, I want to highlight that food assistance is not a public charge. So this is one thing that's really worth mentioning. The Biden administration's public charge rule that took effect in December of 2022 is still in effect. And this rule essentially confirms that eligible immigrant families can use healthcare, nutrition, and housing programs without any public charge concerns. So in other words, programs like SNAP or CalFresh or WIC or any other non-cash federal benefit programs, they are not going to affect immigration status or applications. In full transparency, I do believe that the current administration is trying to change this, but nothing has changed at all just yet. And if anything does changes, or if anything does change, we'll make sure that we inform as many people as we can about it. If you guys would like to learn more about it, we do have links to our website and we talk a little bit more about that there. And this slide just reiterates a little bit what I said on the previous slide, that food assistance programs are safe resources that do not affect you or your family's immigration status. Many people unfortunately avoid food assistance resources out of fear that it will affect their immigration status or cause any outcomes that may harm them, which is not true. It's not going to happen. These are safe resources that they can use. Additionally, it's really important to note that all these programs are not mutually exclusive. I know Anna mentioned it earlier, but what this means is that even if a family or a household receives benefits from one program, they can still get benefits from another program as long as they are eligible for that other program as well. So, in other words, it's not a one program or the other kind of thing. Think of it as you can participate in as many of these food assistance programs as you are eligible for. And lastly, here are just some additional resources that you guys are going to receive. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and add you to our newsletter so that way you guys can stay up to date on any updated information or resources. Additionally, you guys can visit our resources online. We have a lot of different things all across our website, whether it's about Sunbucks or CalFresh or WIC, maybe the food distribution locators, right? We have a lot of stuff that's really helpful, a lot of flyers, a lot of toolkits. So if you guys are interested, you guys are able to visit that and get more information that way. And then if you guys have any questions, you guys can go ahead and reach out to us and we can assist you in that way as well. And yeah, do you guys have any other final questions for us? We'll put our contact information on the next slide, but that's all we have for you guys today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know. We can answer anything now or reach out to us later. We can help you guys in the future as well. And then this slide just shows our information, our email, our number. So again, you guys can reach out to us whenever. But yeah, does anyone have any questions as of right now by any chance? It doesn't look like it. We just wait just a tad. Let's see. Yeah, of course. Thank you guys for being here. And like I said, this is all we have for you guys today. But again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, either me or Anna. We're more than willing to help out in any way that we can. And yeah, we we want to help in any way possible.
Well, if there are no questions, I want to thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for taking our training today. And like Andrew said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us. You can give us an email or give us a phone call. Thank you so much, everyone. We will be sharing the recording onto our YouTube page, so go ahead and be on the lookout for that. But we will also send out the slides. Thank you, everyone.